So this is what I'm going to talk about, and I was very impressed by the former speakers, especially the lady from Monash, because they organized it so cleanly, and the guys from Aarhus, who really amended a difficult situation. What I'm going to tell you is that we are still in this kind of situation. So we're in the middle of the problem. And what I want to tell you is a little bit about the KNAW, the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences, of the institutions, of the challenges we face in collaborating between the organizational units and in our attempt in dealing with these challenges. And of course, I already had some nice tips and suggestions from your presentations, but if you have more, you're very welcome to contact me, and please send me all your suggestions so that we can also improve our performance. So this is the Royal Academy. It's a learned society, they call it, with members that are elected for their excellent research. And it has a long history. It was originated in 1808, in the 19th century, when we were under French rule. And in 1812, they moved into the Trippenhuis. And the Trippenhuis is the building that you can see on the logo. And that was a monumental building from the 17th century. Before the Royal Academy moved into this building, the Rijksmuseum was in the building. Maybe you heard of the Rijksmuseum. If you look at the room in the corner, you can see the room which is called the Rembrandt room. And that was the room where, before the Royal Academy moved in, the night watch hung. So that's really a historic place. Now, what about the institutes? We have a lot of institutes. We have 15 institutes, and they serve as national expertise centers. Fortunately, we do not have students. That's one thing that we are happy with. But that's the only thing. We have institutes in the humanities, in social sciences, and in life sciences. For instance, in the humanities, we have the Huygens Institute. You may know the Huygens family. It was a famous 17th century family. The father, Constantine, was a diplomat and a poet, and he was befriended with Galileo and Descartes. And the son, Christian Huygens, also very famous, a mathematician, astronomer, optics. He invented the pendulum clock and rings on Saturn and everything like that. They do research into literature and history. For social sciences, we have the institute, the International Institute of Social History. They mainly have a large collection of societal labor and labor-related materials. They have documents, artifacts. For instance, they own the handwritten original document of the Communist Manifesto from Karl Marx. And we have life science institutes like our institute, the Netherlands Institute of Ecology, that's where I'm from. And lately we launched the Delta Plan Biodiversity Recovery. And another Life Science Institute, for instance, I will tell you more about it, is the NIN, the Institute of Neuroscience. They, for instance, have a brain bank, and they recently opened the Spinoza Center for high-sensitive MRIs for the brain. So that's about the institutions. Now, how have we organized PURE? We had PURE because the Central KNAW's management said that what they wanted is that they could have all the essential performance statistics with one mouse click. It should sound familiar to everybody who is dealing with management. they still think that is possible. As you can see in the blue line, there is the Central Royal Academy organization. There's one pure functional manager. In the other, in the yellow line, there you can see the institutes. There are 15 institutes. All the institutes have their own management, their institutional management, their own directors, their own goals, their own mission, etc. And they all appointed one person as their institutional pure manager. And that one person, that could be anybody. Could be a secretary, a researcher, somebody from the library, or a lab assistant, or whatever. Now, to give you a little bit of a statistics, compared to the universities that just gave their talk, it's nothing, but we had more than 2,000 research outputs and more than and almost 4,000 activities. And if you can read the statistics, you can also see that we have 67% open access publications, which is very nice regarding the Plan S. But most of all, of course, is the number of persons who are involved in inputting the data in Pure. There were 300 persons involved. At least that is what I found if I searched the database in Pure. And I can assure you that I don't know them all. So to give you a more closer look on our differences, I have compared two life science institutes, the Institute of Neuroscience with our Institute of Ecology. We should be almost the same. We are almost the same size. We are both in life science, that is in that part of science that is involved in high impact factor journals. For instance, humanities are not, so they play a different role. That's almost the same, but for the rest, everything is different. The Neuroscience Institute does the absolute minimum, because as I told you, we were organized top-down. So a lot of these institutional managers said, okay, then the day before we need to deliver the annual report to the Central KNAW management, we simply import the research publications into Pure, and then they get it. So they do the minimum, and we try to make the most of it. So that's really a big difference. Now, what are our challenges? As you can see, the differences are, well, very large in discipline, in goals, in attitudes, in skills, everything. We don't, and we don't even know what others really think. But to make it a little bit more comprehensive, I made 3 categories. Organizational. We are 15 semi-independent institutions. Will all have their own managements and own demands in output registration and display on the websites. We all have different goals and different affiliations with universities. For instance, the NIN Institute is very close connected to the Amsterdam University, so they can use all their facilities and all their well, everything. And we are not linked to any university. And some institutes have highly skilled technical personnel, because some of them, for instance, one of the humanity institutes, the Meertens Institute, they build their own databases. They have a large database of first names, for instance. And these people are so highly skilled that they can also help out with Pure. But others, they have none of these kind of people. And centrally there is, well, only one person. There is the problem of the Pure registration. As I said before, there are more than 300 people actively registering in Pure, and we don't know who those people are. So that's really strange, because we don't know what they know and how they do it and how they learned it or what. And that's really a weird situation. And of course then there's the pure program. We have one pure installation, and that is that we work with one shared list of persons, one shared list of external persons, one shared list of external organizations, one shared list of journals, keywords, events, everything. And you can imagine that with such a diverse company, it starts to get really a problem. I hope that you can that you recognize these challenges. Can you please raise your hand if you recognize this one in the... Oh, it's not so many, so I think lots of you already have managed this problem. Then I'm really very curious on how you did this. So please tell me about it. Now, what are we going to do about this? We need to have our organizational challenge to really meet this. We should work as a real team. Now, yesterday I heard a beautiful story from the Montclair University, from Mrs. Ramsden, that they had a very great team, and that's why they could succeed. So, well, I copied her slide so that I can hand it over, and I really hope this is going to happen to us one day. I hope. But there's nothing I can do. So there's the pure registration challenges. We have an awful lot of unauthorized items, especially external persons, external organizations. And it's all because everybody has a different aim in registration, in the attitudes of registration, in understanding, in skills, in, well, everything. So that's why we have this multitude of variation in our registrations. So the question is, what can we do about it? Do we need more instruction? Do we need more training? And nobody wants to have training because, you know, you can write as many manuals as you like. You all know this. There's no researcher who's going to study them. So how can we improve this? This is what we did in matter of pure registration. We had a minimum of agreements, around the 16 of us. So the 15 institutional pure managers and the 1 functional manager. But there's no way of saying in how far these agreements are being told in the organizations, or how these agreements are implemented. We don't know. The nice thing is that in Pure now we have a selection help. That's very good. So that's at least something. I don't know if anybody uses it, but it looks good. And of course we have a manual that somebody of us wrote. We looked into the data quality, and our functional pure manager wrote a report about the problems that we have now. In this word cloud you can see all the words of the report. And you can see that there is a lot of inconsistencies, doublures, everything like that. So, well, this is more or less the situation as it is. And she started now, after making this report, a campaign on data quality improvement. But of course this can only be the case for the things that are already in there. And I think we need also a little bit of quality improvement for the things to come. And some of these things are so big that we can't manage them. I really hope that the cleansing tool will help a little bit. Maybe we can also have a kind of a tool, for instance, that we can well, as some of these citation management software has, to check if a record is complete and see if there's anything else needed. So I do hope that this can be developed. And for the rest, well, the main thing is that we can only hope that that we can work together in a better way, and that we can have our institutional managers recognize the work that we do, and also stress, well, what I said is stress the importance to stick to one set of indicators, because the central management tends to change the validated indicators all the time, which is very annoying. And then, last but not least, there are some challenges in the pure program itself. So, well, it sometimes it offers a little bit help in looking and locating the differences so that we can amend it. But there are also a lot of things, especially in the master data, that could be updated so that we can use it in a better way. For instance, if we could have more filtering possibilities in the master data, so that we could filter out the organizational units, the related works, everything. That already could be a thing. We have a problem with matching. For instance, if some of us, they do the import from PubMed, then you get the full affiliation together with the address in Pure, and that's really terrible. So from some universities, we do have more than 100 notations, and well, they are external, so maybe it's not bad, or maybe it doesn't matter that we have that, but you know, it annoys me that we do. And we would like to have a better organization of our internal organizational units, so that we can better select these things and make limits to these organizations. Well, all in all, we would like to have more refinement also in the documents itself. For instance, in the events. There are a lot of annual events, and we have to make new events all the time, every year for the same event. So maybe there is something that you could make it more easy for us to make it so. So that will be of great help, all these kind of things. And that ends it. So this is my address. If you don't like to send me personally an email, you can send it also to the library at neo.knaw.nl, or via Twitter in my address. I do hope, I already learned a lot these 2 days, and I do hope that you can also send me some tips or suggestions to say, come on, Marianne, let's do this, and we can organize it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Marianne. Any questions for Marianne?
Well, not so much a question as a remark. I've been attending the report module session from Malena, and I think the new report module might be very helpful in making your selections for organizational units. Anyway, I think there's hope.
I hope so. I hope so. I will certainly try.
This is a slightly odd question, I guess, but for those of us who are embarking on a journey in probably a chaotic environment, a little bit like yours, what are the 3 things that you would have wanted your senior management to do at the start of the journey that would have made life much easier for you?
It would have been much easier if the Central Royal Academy management would have convinced the institutional directors of the necessity of doing so, if you understand me. They simply say we do it. And although all the institutional directors said, well, is that a way to go? No, they still said, okay, we do it. So that's why a lot of these institutional directors, well, more or less protest and don't fully collaborate. So what you need to do is to get consent for everybody, the whole management, and not just the big top.
Yeah, I think Nikolai and Henrik also can nod to that. It's not an easy task to do what you are.
Yeah, no. And that's something also that we have little influence on.
Thank you very much, Marianne.
Okay.
And another hand up.